Yes, thank you. And you?
Sure.
Okay, should we make a start? Well, good morning, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the dinner last night. I hope you enjoyed whatever entertainment you found after the dinner last night. Who went to the Grand Place? Yeah, we saw the police video on the news this morning. but don't worry, the European Commission will pay the fine. Okay, this morning we're going to, in the first half, we're going to carry on really from where we finished yesterday evening, thinking about staff ambassadors, and then we're going to look at some of the training implications of what we've been saying in the last 24 hours. And then after the coffee break, drill down into job days and the extranet and one or two other operational things, and that will take us up to lunchtime. So that's the shape of this morning. Now, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's Friday. So I think we need to get a bit of energy into the room before we start. So I'd like to begin by playing a game. Yeah, yeah, this actually requires you to exert yourself more than just lift up a cup of coffee. This game was taught to me by the German Public Employment Service. So credit to the ZAB? ZAB, is that right? Yeah. Yeah, it's a ZAB game. So I need two teams, so I'm going to divide you right down the middle. So Greece, you're now split in two. Please don't take that as a political comment. So all of this side of the room, in a group here, please. Come on, big group here. Standing up, come on. All of this side of the room, here. Big group. That's it. Good. Come on. Big group. Yeah, and now, can everybody hear me? Because I can't hold the microphone. And I'm sure you all know the children's game, rock, paper, scissors. Yeah, where paper wraps rock and rock breaks scissors and paper cuts scissors and so on. Scissors cut paper. This is a variation on the game called Tiger, Samurai Soldier, and Little Old Grandma. And the idea of the game is that the samurai soldier kills the tiger. So the samurai soldier beats the tiger. The tiger eats the little old grandma. So the tiger beats the little old grandma in the game. The little old grandma frightens the samurai warrior. So the little old grandma beats the samurai warrior. So you've got three things. One will always win. And each of them has a particular action. So the samurai warrior goes, hi-ya! As samurai soldiers do. The tiger goes, grrr! As tigers do. And the little old grandma goes, yeah! And we've all got one of those, haven't we? So you're going to play this as two teams. All of you guys are going to decide which you're going to be. You might decide that you're going to be samurai warriors. So you all do samurai warrior at the same time. You guys decide who you're going to be. You might decide to be tigers. You all do tigers at the same time. In that case, the samurai warrior beats the tiger, so they get a point. And it'll be the first team to be 2 points ahead. So you've got to think strategically here. Let's just practice this so that you're sure about this. This team, on the count of 3, tiger. Remember tiger? Okay, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Pathetic. Kitten. Come on, tiger. 1, 2, 3. Yes. Okay. Samurai warrior on 3. 1, 2, 3. Cardboard soldier. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Much better. Now, everybody, little old grandma. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Perfect.
There are some potential little old grandmas in this group already, aren't there? You can see in 20, 30 years' time. Right. So that's the game. Everybody clear? So the way we'll do it is, I will go 1, 2, 3, go. And on go, you do your whichever action you've decided as a team. So first of all, into a huddle and decide how you're going to start. Okay? Right, ready?
Yeah, you're teaching now.
Come on, come on. Right, ready, come on.
Takie, oni też? No, to pokażą, kto wygrał. Tego papier, wiesz.
Oh, democracy. Crikey. Okay, everybody? Right. Duda, if it takes this long to decide on the actions they're going to do, the strategy's not going to be ready till about Okay, right. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, ready, everybody. 1, 2, 3, go! Tiger, Granny, tiger. I'm sorry. Tigers eat grandmas. 1 point to this side. Okay, what are you going to do next? It's going to be the first to eat 2 points ahead. So if you win again, you've won. If they win, we've got to go for a third. Right, so you're winning. Okay. Everybody ready? Everybody ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, go! Well done. Right, so that's the most difficult part of the day over. Okay, you'll remember yesterday evening when Tony Lockett was talking to us, he set out 5 questions that he thought it would be useful to ask in the context of getting a Staff as Ambassadors program going. And let me emphasize again, I think what we're proposing is very slightly different from what Regio are doing. We're suggesting that this becomes an attitude of mind that we spread as widely as possible around the network. It's not the case that anybody should be designated to be an ambassador as if they now have some additional burden, but rather it's getting people to think as ambassadors and persuade their colleagues to think in that way and gradually spread this attitude around the network. That's the overall objective, empowering people to behave as much as possible as staff ambassadors in their professional lives, in their personal lives. But if that's the big objective, how are we going to go about it? And Tony, I think, gave us a useful framework for considering this. We put some ideas into the strategy, but I think Tony gave us an opportunity perhaps to drill down a bit further and to think in a bit more detail about how we're going to do it. So that's what I'd like to do over the next few minutes. I think we can do this in plenary session here. We don't have to sort of go away and start writing things on whiteboards. Let's take the questions one at a time. How do we select our volunteers? I've put in bold the word select there. I might put volunteer in bold as well. We're talking about volunteers here. Nobody's going to be forced to do this. But it's easy to say, okay, if anybody would like to become a staff ambassador, if anybody would like to learn how to do this, it can improve your networking skills, for example, which will be useful for you in your everyday work anyway. How are we going to have a process of selection? How are we going to find the people who might be interested in helping us push this objective forward? Any suggestions from anybody? How can we select our volunteers? Put everybody's staff number into a hat and pull them out? No, that's not a selection process.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I was a bit skeptical yesterday about the idea because actually, I think they have to have communication skills for sure, even if we're not talking about PRs. But the thing is, it also has to be made clear for our colleagues that we are selecting some people not based on... Because we're talking about the network, so we have to still have to keep the team spirit, and why do we choose this one or the other? So it has to be made clear for them that the only reason why we are selecting people is because we cannot afford to deliver training, for instance, for everybody at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's very true, isn't it, Duda? It would be lovely to think we could do a network-wide staff as ambassadors course, but in the real world, I'm afraid the resources just aren't there.
Because this is the idea. If this is a change of mind, why is this privileged person chosen and not other colleagues?
But don't forget, we're going to start with a call for volunteers.
For sure.
I think what we're saying is our thinking, and again, I'm sharing with you the thinking that we've had as we put the strategy together. The reason we're in this room right now is to test these ideas. Our thinking is that there is, quote, a call for volunteers in some way. We say this is a principal objective of the strategy. By 2020, we want the idea of staff thinking of themselves as ambassadors to be more widely held around the network. We're looking for volunteers to do that. Okay, if we only get one, well, that's a shame. If we get, for the sake of argument, 30, in the very first wave. It may be that we can only work with 10 of them in the first year. I'm just choosing these numbers for illustration. There will need to be a selection process. In our minds, those perhaps who have already some natural ability as communicators would be candidates. Personally, I think it would be wrong just to say, oh, well, we'll just take the spokespeople, because then you're mixing the function of spokesperson and the idea of being a staff ambassador. And a staff ambassador isn't just a media spokesperson. It's a very different sort of thing.
So open-minded, positive, with a good background in terms of years advisor, so experience to tell about.
Yeah,
I think it's enough.
It's open-minded, positive. I agree. I think open-minded, positive, keen to network, good at working with people. I wrote a little sort of trial job description, quote unquote, for a staff ambassador when we were designing the strategy. And one of the things that struck me as I was writing it was I felt I was actually writing a description of a EURES advisor. Really seriously, I think that the sorts of skills which make for a good EURES advisor, good interpersonal skills, keen to engage with, make new contacts, open, I hope, to suggestions of new ways of doing things. Those are exactly the skills you need for somebody who's going to be a good staff ambassador for your organization. Those are also exactly the skills that you need to be a really good EURES advisor. And you're all really good EURES advisors. So it seems to me, amongst any group of people, EURES advisors are probably the group most likely to have people in them who would make good staff ambassadors. It's just a question of thinking, I'm not just engaging with employers and job seekers who come to me or who I need to target because we're looking at engineering this month. It's a question of being in that transmit mode about EURES all the time, not just some of the time. Thinking your individual countries, how might you go about finding volunteers who would be interested in becoming staff ambassadors? In each of your countries, how would you go about it? Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking that a good way can be that we spread the news that we are looking for these ambassadors, to give a good description what is asked from these people. And I would prefer to have more than one in our country. I think about 3 or 4. And I would ask people to think it over, to come with their apply if they want to do it, and I would also, next to that, point out people when I think they are good candidates, to ask them to apply also. And when there's not enough coming in, I don't ask for more. I only want the people that are motivated. So if I end up with 2, then these 2 can be selected. Well, maybe that's a start.
Yeah, I think it's a good start. I think one where I particularly agree with you. I think even in a small country, and Netherlands is not a small country, but perhaps we could say middle size. But even in a very small country, even in somewhere like Malta, I'd suggest having more than one. Just because being one of something new is a rather lonely place to be. If you got at least 2, then from time to time they can sit down together, or they can have an email exchange, they can talk to one another, share experiences, learn from one another. So even in the smaller countries, or those of you who I know only have relatively small teams, if you can get more than one, the dynamic is going to work better. Both of those two will have a richer and better experience than one individual trying it on his or her own. But I do agree, if, let's say, if you get two, just for the sake of argument, and they both really want to do it, great. We, from our side, would much sooner have 2 volunteers than 20 people who've been pushed into it and told, you know, you've offended the director, therefore you're being sent on this course. Because that's never going to work. You can teach people perhaps how to do mathematics or something. If somebody doesn't want to have an attitude of mind, you're not going to change that, or not in the short term. So it really wants to be something that people are keen to engage with. You got a microphone on that table? Yeah.
Yeah, I just like to follow on from the yesterday. I think we discussed it. I think you get involved for a while at our workshop. Yeah, that at the policy level, at the political level, like for me, like Europe's advisors are doing, as you said, this job on a daily basis, including the communication to job seekers or any interested, whoever is interested in mobility. And they are skilled and they are being trained to do that. But that is happening at the local level in many cities, towns, villages. But we need to have really push among the policymakers. We said it yesterday among PES, heads of PES, because, for example, we have some challenges about your first serious job. That the ministers say, well, you know, there are concerns about that, because they see still EURES as sending young people away. So I cannot imagine appointing someone. It's really sending right information to the right audience. But also I would like to stress, we have this informal discussions about EURES. Also maybe you can take it on board to the strategy, that EURES should move into more, not the numbers, I also mentioned the monitoring reports yesterday. It's more about the quality and fairness. And these are for me, the key words, because believe or not, if you see the people from the perspective of a small places, small towns, it's so different. What they perceive about mobility. I couldn't believe that there are still issues of human trafficking, for example, happening in Europe. And people from the small towns, they don't know the European rights, you know? And this is something that EURES should actually move in. This is my approach. Thanks.
I'm not sure we can get into the telling people what their, well, yes, we should make people aware of what their rights are, of course, because they have the right to travel, they have the right to seek employment wherever they wish as European citizens. But I think what you said about quality and fairness takes us very much into that section of the strategy which talks about EURES brand values. I think this is a basic principle of communication. That all of your communications, all of your activities should reflect your brand values. We communicate our brand values directly, sometimes, for example, in advertising. I don't mean we EURES, I'm thinking now just in general as principles of communications. Corporate advertising reflects the brand values of the corporation. Product advertising or product PR reflects the particular things that company makes. So, BMW. BMW's corporate advertising reflects quality and high quality engineering. BMW's product advertising for different makes of cars reflects luxury or off-road or speed or whatever it is. So in the same way, I think everything that we do as EURES should reflect quality and fairness. I don't think those aren't add-ons. Those are right there in the heart of it. Everything we say, everything we write, every conversation we have should reflect the fact that we are providing quality jobs, we are providing quality service, and mobility of labour is fair. That's what brand values are for.
Briefly to add on, but I meant more when we have contacts with employers. Let's promote fair employers, quality jobs.
Yeah.
Even if there are no big numbers, I would focus on that rather than the numbers.
Yeah, in our success stories.
No, with the provision of job placement services.
As the offer to employers.
On a daily basis, that's why I'm referring to the EURES advisors, that this is a job for them, but also for the politicians, that we are working in Europe on the quality and fair jobs. So rather than the numbers. And also we have informal discussion with other people on the new engine, that is matching directly CVs with the job offers, and is it a good path that will ensure this quality and fairness, because it will be very speed up process now. Again, for me it's more targeting the numbers rather than quality.
And you're saying that the offer to employers wants to be an offer of the quality and the fairness, not just the fact that we've done thousands of them.
Yeah, as part of communication campaigns, EURES is fair and qualitative, and this is the, I think, way that we should go on.
Okay, can I have the mic for 4? Thanks. These are very good observations. I think we should continue debate also at a higher level in the EURES coordination group, because it's about where do you want to go as a network. We have to bear in mind that the perspective of each individual member state is different. You have a perspective essentially of a sending country, and you see issues in relation to what is happening on the ground in terms of sending migration. But there's also issues in terms of receiving migration. So what we have said in the strategy is that while we can have a comprehensive, overall encompassing framework with brand values, which Mark has explained, in the messaging you can try and be a bit more specific. So you can be specific. You can ask for specific messaging in the toolkit in relation to employers in a sending country. We could go at that level if you want that. But if your debate is about we should change the matching engine, we should change the approach of EURES, and we should have less vacancies on the portal, I'm sorry, that's a station past, and that's not within the remit of this group. It is discussed between the Council and the European Parliament in the context of the discussions on EURES. So within that framework, we at our level have to work. But the debate on fair mobility, I'm sure it's also part of that discussion, and you will see that it will continue, that debate.
Thanks, Julia. Any more on the selection of volunteers before we move on to the other question? Any other comments? Anybody? Yes?
Okay. Just I'm sorry, but it's a question that is missing in there, I think. And maybe, because before we select volunteers, we have to have a more concrete idea, and of course we heard the examples from DG Regio, but we have to have an idea of more concrete examples of tasks which might be allocated to these people, because we know that, and if it's a stable menu, or if we can adapt it to the national level, but we need to have concrete examples, because there are some things which are not within the reach of certain people because of national rules in terms of communication. There are other things, so we need to know that.
I think what I would say there is certainly we quite clearly, I'll answer. We quite clearly need to provide you with a a one-page staffers ambassadors explanation, if you like. I suspect that the way to do it may be to literally to provide you with one, but also perhaps to communicate at a sort of higher managerial level as well, in parallel with that, so that the hierarchies hear about it from us at the same time as you're getting the details. And I think, yes, I think on this side, we are very, very conscious of the big differences that exist between countries. Hey, that's what makes Europe fun. And therefore, there should, I think, speaking personally, I think there should be a sort of core set of competencies that we would wish a good staff ambassador to have, and a minimum set of things that we would hope a good staff ambassador would do. And then outside that, other things that, if it's okay, politically, policy-wise, however you want to describe it, other things that staff ambassadors could do. So you've got a core set, and then you can build around that. France.
Yeah, my question is quite similar about the role of the ambassadors, but I'm not really sure if we can add more tasks to our advisors in their daily work. For us in France, if the ambassadors have to do something in their daily work, they can't. For us, I think it will be impossible. So I don't really sure that advisors are our ambassadors. Yeah. Like in this meanwhile, maybe if the role will be more clear, it will be clear also for me.
Okay, I understand the point, I really do, but I honestly don't think it's adding anything. It's not adding extra work, it's rather taking advantage of opportunities when they come. So, for example, if you're an effective staff ambassador, and you're at a conference, and no names here, but I've seen some organizations where somebody goes to a conference, they're due to speak at 10:30, let's say. Right. They arrive at 10 o'clock, they hide in a back room somewhere. At 10:25, they walk out, they deliver their presentation, they take questions and answers if they've been asked to do so, and by the time we get to the coffee break, they're already on the plane back home. Okay, they've done the job that they were sent to do. I think somebody who has the mentality of a staff ambassador, at the very least stays for the coffee break and uses the opportunity of the coffee break to mooch around, talking to people, getting feedback from them on how his or her presentation was received, giving those who are interested in it a bit more detail of who and what his or her organization is about, making contacts, spreading the word, helping the people who went to that particular conference feel a bit better about that particular organization. Now, if that's extra work, okay, but I honestly think that it's a very marginal amount of extra work. It's much more making use of the opportunities that present themselves to you. Those of you who are good EURES advisors do that already. We call it networking. But it doesn't come instinctively to everybody, and sometimes you can show people opportunities that even those who are quite used to networking might not have thought of. And that's particularly true online, where there's online engagement. I talk to Olivier and Mark, and I regard myself as a reasonably effective networker. But they say, oh, have you thought about doing this? Or, oh, have you thought about doing that? No, we can't all think of these things.
Choose one or five ambassadors.
Microphone.
If you want to all EURES advisors to be ambassadors, why do we have to choose 1, 2, 3, or 5 of them? if everybody normally in the daily work do that, maybe we have add something for our initial trainings or for the advanced training, just, I don't know, a little course, somebody who can explain how to be, better ambassadors for the line managers, maybe as well. Maybe in that way, but I can understand, maybe I'm alone, why should we choose some of them and put them, in the other level?
Because, well, our thinking is, because some people are going to be better at it than others, because some people are going to be more willing to do it than others. So rather than making it something which everybody has to do, we're saying we'll work initially with those who are really keen on doing it, and then those who we work with in the first round, if you like, talk to their colleagues, encourage their colleagues to have the same attitude, perhaps to come on a special training course. Then all those people each persuade a couple of their colleagues, and it spreads like a virus. We were thinking, so that way it spreads out from the center rather than from being imposed from on top. That's the only reason. Let's have a look at some of the other questions, because, all right, one more. Otherwise I'm going to fall into the trap that some of you did yesterday, which is you spent the first 45 minutes talking about question 1, and there are 4 more questions there.
Okay, I have 2 questions. They're very concrete. So we talked about competences that staff as ambassadors should have, and we talked about open-minded networking. What about the competences dealing with digital media?
Yes. Excellent.
The training
very good question, because you're now asking me about question 2. No, which is brilliant, because that's what I want to do anyway. Yes, I agree. I think one of the things that it would be really useful to do from this meeting is to think, okay, in terms of training, what competencies can we enhance or provide to our staff ambassadors? And in the very next section, when Unya joins me, then she's very keen to hear your feedback on that in terms of what training courses it may be useful to put together. So we'll come up with a list on that. You said there were 2.
Okay, and another question is on long term. So we are talking about now the first stage of collecting or recruiting some staff as ambassadors. Will there be second, third? How will So at the end, all Euros advisor will be ambassadors, or how is it long term?
Yeah, good question. In an ideal world, I would love to have written that by 2020, all EURES advisors will think of themselves as staff ambassadors, or all EURES staff. I beg your pardon, not just. Home team, their staff ambassadors as well. Consultants, we should be ambassadors for EURES not just when we're at EURES events, but when we're doing other things. If the issue of labour mobility comes up in the conversation, we should think of ourselves as ambassadors for the quality and fairness that EURES represents. I would love to be able to write as an objective that everybody across the network would think of themselves as a staff ambassador. However, I think that's much too much to ask in the period between now and 2020. I think what we've written at the moment, Duda, from memory, is that there should be at least 1 staff ambassador in each country. Is that?
The target is to have permanently in place between 1 to 5 staff ambassadors in each EU country by the end of 2020.
Sorry, 1 to 5. That's it. Thank you. So we're saying 1 to 5. Quite frankly, I don't think that's much to ask. Okay, in a very, very small country, well, 1 to 5, you could have 2. In a very big country, Germany, France, I honestly don't think it's asking much that we get up to 5 people who think like that. I'd hope it might be more, speaking purely personally. But yeah, that's the idea. Anything else on the resources? Imagine yourself. Imagine you've decided you'd like to undertake this training, to learn how to behave and think. Perhaps think is the key word here. More like a staff ambassador. What could we do to help you in terms of resources? I mean, yes, we'll write to the boss, all of those sorts of things, but in terms of actually providing you with training or with physical resources, documentation, whatever it may be, how can we support you in that role?
Okay, I think regarding this communication strategy, which will come out of the next few months, I believe, I think it has to be a content for this training somehow, because the brand values, the mission, the vision should be there. Also, the labor mobility package that you were talking about, which will come out up until the end of the year, should be something that these ambassadors should have access to as materials.
I think that's the overall narrative. This was what Tony was saying yesterday, that giving people an idea of an overview of what regional policy, what cohesion policy is about. I think if the labour mobility package is put together in the way that it should be, it should provide us with that overall narrative, not just for staff ambassadors, but right across the network. It should give us a context within which we're speaking. And it should address these issues of fairness as well. I think an important part of that package, it will be the way politically the Commissioner speaks about it. As I said yesterday, we have no influence on that at all. But I would hope that the language that she is given to use would, amongst other things, reflect the point that fairness has to underpin labour mobility.
And then, of course, within the training catalogue from Ernst & Young, you already have communication skills, both in advanced and virtual training. From TIPIC, I suppose, we will also have. So the thing is having a package of training which combines many of the things which are already being delivered within the training,
but targeted
with a target.
Good one. Yeah. Anything else on resources? Okay. I thought this was an interesting, again, another interesting one that Tony raised. When and where? Think you're a staff ambassador. You've been on our fabulous training course. You've got the resources that you need. You're thinking about life in a whole new, much more networked way. What are the sort of opportunities over the course of the year that you could make use of? Job days, yes, obviously. So what are perhaps some different opportunities where being a staff ambassador would give you an opportunity to spread the EURES word? When and where? Hang on, we just try it again.
Information sessions for employers, for instance?
Yeah. Anytime you are within 50 meters of an employer, basically. Information sessions, meetings of chambers of commerce, anywhere that employers gather. The gentlemen, and ladies and gentlemen, the golf club. Think of it in social settings as well. It's not something that switches on and off. Anywhere you're potentially in contact with an employer, be in transmit mode.
Whenever we have a request from the media to speak about how EURES works and in practice?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, just we touched on media yesterday. Those of you who remember when I was working with the network before, media is one of the things I do a lot of. I always say to people that when a journalist asks you a question, your task is not just to answer the question. Your task is to get across the message you want to get across about the values or objectives or both of your organization or project, whatever it may be. And this again is why it's an attitude of mind. It's not an extra thing. Answering a question from a journalist isn't just, yes, it's 32 or next Tuesday. Or we're doing it because it's part of what we were told to do under this working program or whatever. Who we are, why we are, what we stand for wants to form part of that answer. Yeah.
I think for me it's also important that I learn how to bring the message. I feel that I have a lack of competences on bringing a message in a good way. I want to say a lot of things, but when the moment a microphone is on me or a camera is on me,
it all goes out of your mind.
Yes, and
I know the
I'm
feeling.
blocked, and it's a pity because when I normally have contact with the employers or by mail, it's not a problem at all because I have some time to think. But I think it's important as an ambassador to learn how to deal with unexpected questions or how to be prepared for the things that you cannot be prepared of.
Training people, take note. Anything else on when and where? Okay, recognition. We all like being recognized for our efforts, even though I genuinely don't think it's a whole load of extra work. If you've put in the effort to go on the course, if you're starting to behave in this new way, most people quite like their efforts to be recognized. What form could that take? And bundles of non-sequential €50 notes is not the acceptable answer to this question. So other than bundles of non-sequential €50 notes, what form could recognition take?
Well, I was thinking about giving this group of people a channel with each other, which makes the group recognizable for each other, and they also could exchange some topics, some results what they have. And I think when you belong to a group like that, it can be something that is, well, you can see it as a recognition.
Yeah, I think that's a very good idea. Incidentally, if you want to have a look at a really good example of a group of people working together on EURES projects, have a look at the Spanish social media strategy and the implementation of it. The one we mentioned in the awards ceremony last night. The details of it are on the extranet. And they've done some really good work in joining up the dots, as it were. I fully understand that not everybody has the same degree of access to social media. We talked about that yesterday. But where you've got access, boy, can you make use of it. And perhaps if you've got a hierarchy who are being a bit resistant, pointing out to them what the Spanish have been able to achieve. Maybe one way to break down a bit of the resistance. But yeah, so an online community. And then it's nice to be part of an online community. By definition, it would be transnational, so you're feeding, getting ideas from, exchanging ideas with others, like thinking advisors in other countries. Yeah? Any other thought?
And again, I think this has reinforced this. This is already by itself rewarding, and the fact that they probably have some more autonomy, but at the same time some more responsibility before the network to commit themselves to communicate is already a reward. Because if we add something which is much more than this, they will have access to privileged training, they will have access to a lot of things. If we add too much besides this, it might again be seen as a privilege regarding the rest of the network.
Best Staff Ambassador of the Year award? Well, yeah. Opportunity to stay one night at the Crown Plaza. Second prize, 2 nights at the Crown Plaza. No, it's a nice hotel. Okay, and finally, we need to monitor this. Now, again, this was something again that Tony was talking about, and he's a very good communicator. One of the important things about monitoring and evaluation is you don't just add it on at the end. You have to build your monitoring in right at the beginning of the process so that you're collecting the data. So otherwise, you find yourself, for example, if you're doing qualitative research, saying to people, now, think back 5 years to how you felt about this program in 2010 and compare how you feel about it now. It's almost impossible to do that. You have to ask the question in 2010 and then ask the same person the same question in 2015 and compare the difference. So that's why you can never just add evaluation on at the end of the process. We've given ourselves a quantitative KPI, which is 1 to 5. We were talking yesterday, you were saying maybe that we should be thinking in terms of qualitative KPIs as well. And I'm a great believer in qualitative KPIs, although they are more difficult. Any thoughts on how we would monitor and evaluate the success or otherwise of the Staff as Ambassadors initiative, in addition to just measuring the number? If you were tasked to write a report on whether it had been a success in your country, what would you need to know? What information, data would you like to have, in addition to the simple fact that 5 people have now signed up for it? Because that's not going to produce a very long report.
I think you will have to think about output indicators, outcome indicators, even though outcome is a little bit not under the control of the EURES ambassador, but something they have to deliver.
Don't want to give them too much reporting.
Of course, it depends on the concrete examples of tasks that they will have.
Yeah. I think if to take an extreme example, we said, and one of the important things about being a staff ambassador is that every week you should fill in a detailed diary of all the contacts you've made and submit this in triplicate, 1 to your manager, 1 to EURES, and 1 to a functional mailbox in Liechtenstein or whatever. We'll get no volunteers at all. So yes, we need to be able to track them, but in a way which is light for them. How are we doing? Oh, good.
Maybe adding something to the monitor, to the monthly, well, not the monthly report we deliver to the Commission, but maybe to the monthly report they do at the national level. Maybe a section, what have you done
something
as a...
incremental, not too burdensome to what they're doing already.
What have you done during this month as a...
Yeah. No new forms.
Yeah. Simple, but...
Okay. Anything else anybody wants to say about staff as ambassadors? Have we exhausted? Okay, hang on. 1, 2. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. About the monitoring and evaluation, I think that in Finland maybe we should set some goals for this work, and maybe what is the increased value? We get more brand value. Maybe we are more in media. Maybe that kind of things. They are our goals, and what is the added value this this stuff as ambassadors measures make, and then we are making evaluation. Are we getting to some other level by having this measure?
Okay, thank you very much. The question, yep. You got a microphone?
As this objective of creating a network of ambassadors has to be transposed in a programming cycle, I have two concrete questions. The cost of training will be covered by the Commission as for the other training?
Hang on, let's just answer. Will the cost of training, any training we do under staff as ambassadors, be covered by the Commission in the same way? Yes.
Okay. And regarding the events, the communications opportunities they can attend, would be only national or even international? And in this case, it's the same questions. Who will pay for the transport?
Yeah, we talked about the idea of staff ambassadors sometimes being sort of roving ambassadors, didn't we, Duda? I remember it at an early stage. I honestly can't remember whether it made it through to the final draft. Gosh, it's in small print. Yes, here we are. Thank you. First, staff ambassadors, what do we offer? Reimbursement of travel expenses to large-scale pan-European events. So,
Thank
yes.
You. Thank you.
Thank you. I should have known the answer to that question, shouldn't I?
Because at national level could be some problems. For example, if the ambassador is living 500 kilometers from Bucharest and he must attend a meeting with Chamber of Commerce at national level, this should be paid by from our national fund, I suppose, yes?
Yeah,
okay.
But if on the other hand he's going to attend the European Federation of Chambers of Commerce in Barcelona, we're there to help.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
One more, yeah. Last question.
Yeah, just a small comment on evaluation, and again as an example that for us, and also in reply to Dede, I need to reply, that for us, for example, the contacts directly with employers are changing, and for us the measure of success is that more and more employers from corporations are approaching EURES. And we are not really a sending country because increasingly employers as well in the country are looking for a staff with international languages and so on and so on. So for us it's a success that EURES is making a kind of, recognition regardless sending or incoming that is used by the employers to actually fill in the vacancies in the European market. So
okay,
that's it.
Thank you. All right, let's move on. We'll take staff as ambassadors off the board. And the next section, we want to look at training. EURES has always provided training around the network. That obviously will continue to be the case. But really, I think the question we're asking this morning is, as a result of the conversation we've been having since yesterday morning, what particular training needs might there be which we can satisfy? To help answer that question, I'd like Una to come up and join me. Have you got a microphone on that table, Uga? Yep. There we are.
Yes. Okay, it works.
And a couple of questions just to start us off. When you did your presentation yesterday, you talked about three types of training. Webinars, traditional on-site training, and blended learning. For those who aren't familiar with the concept of blended learning, or maybe it's always possible it means slightly different things in different countries. Just talk us through a little bit about this idea of blended learning, what it means.
Blended learning, indeed, actually, it's interpreted in very different ways. But what we meant here, it's relatively simple. So you have a possibility to do an on-site event that might be followed by an online training. It can be a webinar. So as a follow-up to bring the ideas that were, or some kind of action plan that the training was finished with. And this combination of both is simply, it can be a simple blended learning. After, what it can be is also having access to some kind of online resources. So after either on-site training or online training, webinar, you can have simply sent to you a list if you want to get into more details and read more about it, you can read it online. After what I said also about the webinar is just one way, because you have now a SharePoint, the collaborative platform, but it can be, we can try also together with ECHO, it depends on your needs, to think about something even more interactive, maybe some kind of videos, doing anything more online, what is possible, what you find it useful, because of course collaborative platform is great, is already very, very useful, I think, and you use it very well, but there are more to that.
The blended learning programs I've been involved with, I found that on the plus side, people get face-to-face contact.
Yeah.
But over the duration of the training, it actually saves time because they're not constantly traveling backwards and forwards.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, you've been following the conversation on staff as ambassadors. Your thoughts on what training support could be made available to staff?
Actually, it was extremely useful. Thank you very much, because what we had is the old catalog that, of course, was built on the elements of the previous communication strategy. And listening to what was said yesterday, the elements that you presented, there are lots of things that could be added to the catalog. After the catalog is already, I think, very good. The idea is not to have a very, very long list of trainings. What you need to know, what is very important, is that we can propose flexible formats. So it can be half day, it can be one day, it can be online, on site, it can be a mix of both. But there are lots of things to be added. Just as example, what came out of yesterday, what could possibly be added is on stories. Abigail mentioned stories, so really you have a kind of public speaking or presentation skills training, but we can include storytelling in this, which could be very useful. We have the whole course on only storytelling, but it's up to you. As it can be tailored, we can really tailor to your needs, and the outline of the training can be really different, even depending on the country. That's what is very important, because your needs per country are also different. Also on networking, because that's what you need. If you will be as an ambassador, one of you, few or more of you, this is a very important point. How to bring the message across, how to negotiate, it can be also with your line managers. Convince people is something that I've heard. Everything on digital skills, definitely. So also very different levels, because social media, what does that mean? It's a very broad subject. So some of them want to focus on Facebook, some on LinkedIn, some want to use maybe Facebook to promote. So all these possibilities are there, and we will try to really incorporate and maybe propose a general outline that suits you all, but after it will be tailored to each country separately. Stakeholders engagement, in general motivation and engagement, because what is very important, I thought, about the staff as ambassador is the person has to be very motivated, engaged, but also how this person makes others engaged and motivate. Also, another point is if you select the ambassadors, they go to the training. This is one thing. After, how those ambassadors, when they go back to their country, how do they pass the message? Do they just write a report? Do they make you a small presentation? Do they organize a workshop on this? So it's also what we could think with TPIC would of course echo as well is maybe some kind of train the trainer sessions, also to help those ambassadors to pass it to the country, to the office in the country, right? Then event management, which was already actually there, online communication, integrating social networks in your communication strategy, branding, yeah.
Okay, so yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right, Anna Maria.
Actually, it's good to listen to you, because actually I'm also on the training working group, and I'm a training coordinator, and I believe we have at least 4 or 5 people here in this group who are also, they work with information and communication and also with training. And it's good to listen to, because sometimes some of the modules, so we have this mainstream training program, which is, so we have to you'll have to cooperate in teams so that there are not overlaps within the, and probably you can focus on more specific skills. Yeah, Davide is there, also belonging to both networks, training working group too. For instance, I would see storytelling. It might make a lot of sense to have a webinar. Also, in order for us to help Abigail to have success stories reported. Because I don't know why, maybe it's only in my country. Maybe I know why, because as Sylvia was saying, EURES advisors are here with work. And I can be convincing, but I cannot convince them to report me stories. And I've had that databases made. I systematically asked them in the webinars to report back to me some stories we could talk about. But they're always afraid that it is not really, they don't think it will be a success. It's really difficult to convince them to share those stories.
So you think a webinar on that could be one of the options?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed, absolutely.
On the other hand, it would be important for us to understand what you are willing and it will be possible for you to deliver. When you're talking about on-site training, are you talking about, for instance, going to countries and delivering training to a certain country and have a
session there?
Yeah, a session according to the needs of that country, or are you thinking about adding on-site trainings to what we already have delivered?
I mean, we have to also optimize, the point is not to have a huge amount of trainings. I mean, it has to be, you have to really prioritize. That's very, very important, because it's, we have to be cost effective as well. So, first of all, you as a network in each country have to see what are the priorities. But then the idea, yes, normally how it used to be done, it was in each country on-site training. After, of course, the question is, for instance, if you are very few and you have a certain problem, but you are very few, maybe you are only 2 or 3 concerned with that issue, what do you do? Do you actually ask for a training? Do you rather do an online training and maybe with the other countries joining? Because it's possible that other countries need that as well. So maybe in this case, an online training would be much, much better.
And this leads me to the EURES community of practice, which has been launched. And the thing is, I've found some difficulties when it has been launched, and when we started, well, we had already 2 webinars based on that, and they're mostly focused on social media. But I found difficulties also as a training coordinator to get to know how I should communicate to our colleagues and how should we select the people to participate, because we did not know exactly whether there would be future webinars on the same topic. And for instance, LinkedIn, I'm pretty sure I will have more people interested to have it in the future. So
That's a very good point. In general, there must be
information and communication.
Definitely, there must be a certain plan, and that's the idea. I mean, we just started now, but I think the idea with ECHO will be also to have a planning, so you know ahead. But of course, to know that, we need to understand. We need to know your needs. Actually, what are your needs, and then try to plan it to have some kind of agenda for trainings, and also, of course, for the online.
Let's bring ECHO in. What number microphone have you got there?
This is number 4, but it works already.
Great.
Yeah, thanks. So we've been working together in the training working group indeed, and I must say that we are working hard in the development of the training offer, and there will be a renovation in the training in terms of profiling the roles of the advisors and all the members of the network. This means that we will provide training paths in order to really specialize the people towards certain domains that are important according to the Euros reform and for dealing with different types of stakeholders. In this framework, there will be a strong coordination between the normal training that has been run since the beginning of Euros, let's say, and the training on communication. It will be clarified to the network who does what. So what is the training provided by Ernst & Young as a training provider? What is the training provider provided by TIPIC? So it means that at a glance, people should be able to understand what type of training they subscribe to. But in general, first of all, for efficiency and for effectiveness, we will avoid overlaps, so that people will actually be able to get a full package overview of all the different types of skills they may need. Of course, depending on communication or on different strategies that they want to apply in their country. For sure, also the ambassador role will be an important development, and actually people who follow the training already on communication and who are skilled on this training then can become ambassador. It's not, well, we could have both approaches, but it's more that people who already have the skills, they can becoming ambassadors, more than applying, then attending a training for becoming ambassadors. We are looking more for people who already are able to communicate. But of course, then we can enhance the cooperation between all these ambassadors. Anyway, we will strongly cooperate, and I understand the needs for clarification, but we are eager to cooperate and to find out a good setup where actually the two types of training will work together in one single catalog, but where everyone will be able to understand who does what and how. So online, on-site, webinars, etc., etc.
Also the application procedures.
The application procedures, indeed.
Which might be different, but at least it has to be clear.
It will be most probably different because, especially if we talk about webinars online, we can also have a short notice. There's no need to register in October for a webinar which is run in December the year after. So 14 months in advance is not what we want to do. Of course, for the on-site training provided in the framework of the training of EURES, more in general, we need a more standardized procedure. For the training provided, we must say, on communication, maybe also because the needs may change, the application procedure will be a bit different.
Okay, time for one more quick question on training, if we've got one. Anybody else? Yes. No. Final. You have the final comment, question, whatever. It's yours.
As you are all here, just to take an opportunity, do you think that intercultural communication could be a good training for you?
Yeah. Let's have a show of how.
I guess we are the type of question. Sorry for that. Just once some of the questions, I would like to say that I did the training of communication tools with Ernst & Young. It was very good. So really it's a new training and really we appreciate it. And with the new contractor, I have one idea. I don't know if really it will be possible to do something about European job days as well as online or on-site. For me, it's more about the role and how EURES advisor participate to the European Job Days in order to be more effective. Not just, to giving information and advice, but take the vacancies on the stand, do the selection, more to give for our US advisor the advice how to do European Job Days in the professional way in order to have better results. I don't know if I'm clear enough.
Okay, I'm keeping an eye on the time, so I want to crack on. But so potential training on being more effective within job days. Let's go back to Une's question. She asked about intercultural communication. Quick show of hands. Who thinks it would be useful to offer a course on communicating in an intercultural context? You've got one already? There you go. That answers your question. One more quick comment.
No, the debate indeed has always been important on these issues. And we have tried along the years to link the intercultural communication with the effective results in matching and in providing counseling to job seekers and in advising the employers. So it's a part of the training program. That is why we need really to cooperate together in order to find out the most effective way for providing the right skills to people.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else has any comments or questions for Ugne, please do so in the coffee break, networking time. They are, think networking already, because it's time to move on. And on to Marinella and the role of single points of contact and NCOs. Marinella, the floor is yours.
Hi everybody. Hello everybody. Hi.
Hey, there I am. Hello everybody. Yesterday I told you already I've been yours advisor for 8 years, and I still am a yours advisor in my daily work right now, as I feel like being here with you. I heard many people are new here as well. I know half part of you already, and I also know that some of you are new in this working group. So what I thought, I'm going to focus now 10 minutes on our role. I'm just going to see it more from the working floor view to see how we can communicate better. What you should know, what I already learned yesterday, is that during the breakout sessions, we all have our national communication challenges. We have our national strategies, we have our national plans, we have IT is working, IT is not working. We're not going to solve it today. So I think that's why I want to focus just these 10 minutes on to repeat some of the basic things, what is good to know for the next round. So what I will do, I will talk a little bit about the NCO and the coordination responsibilities, just a reminder also for the ones who are new. And we talk a little bit about communication tasks, and then our role as the Information and Communication Working Group. And then the last 2 slides, it's just going to be us, like you. What are we going to do now? We're leaving today, going back home. And for those of you who haven't seen it yet, these are the NCO coordinating responsibilities. You probably have seen it already in other documents in earlier meetings because it has been shown before. But for me, it was a good repetition to just see what actually the NCO, the National Coordination Offices, is very important that they take care of this. You see, anything's there, what's completely new. But we just go to the next slide because they have their national communication plan, what they should make somewhere in the running of the coming year. They should implement it, and they should use the past communication channels, they should use social media. But they should work very close together with the other ECO, or with the ECO and with the other NCOs. So national EURES member organizations can also be a role there. But what I want to point out right now is that we, being here, we also have the organization of the communication at the national level, and therefore we need a single point of contact for communication matters. That means that we here can be a big role, we can play a big role, but we also have the national coordination offices. They have to remember that you here attending this conference, you have a very, very important role. If I go back to the official document from the EURES Management Board in June 2014, and if you look back to before there, it has been in the EURES Coordination Group, so then it went to the EURES Management Board. There we see some very important tasks, the development and implementation of the overall communication strategy and plans. That's us as part of us, so we should help there. We should help our managers to deal with that. So we can play the role and give the feedback of this meeting to our annual communication regarding the annual communication objectives and plans, and we can also exchange good practice. I'm not going, is this new for you? Because the last two things on the slides, they're also things they would like you to participate on. For the people who are new, this is probably all new. For the ones who have been joining the last year's meeting, maybe you know it from before. So we have this single point of contact. I repeat myself because I just want to tell you that the Commission also needs it as the feedback, your feedback today. So together with your NCO and your national network, you should work on the implementation. And of course, we learned yesterday that it's not just implemented, because some of you told yesterday is going to be part of the other strategy. Some of you probably going to make a complete new strategy. But this document, which has been made now, it will be a challenge, a good challenge to also cooperate much better with your NCO. Something else, which is a very important task for you here, is provide content to the ANIP. I just pointed at Abigail again. Feel free. Any chance we should get even more news to you as soon as possible. And also what I want to say is you are the channel between the NCO and the ECO. So that means if you have questions, we have been talking a lot of different things today. If you have questions, you contact us. Don't just feel it as a little short line we should have now. You are also in charge of maintaining the national network connections. And I don't know, also for the new people, if you already know about the EURES visual identity products, but it is very good to have a look at it. There are the extranets, and you can use them. And not to go through everything, but I just want to tell you that give us the feedback on anything you want. It could be even after today a closer line, that if you feel you want to share your opinions, could also be something else, you just tell us. So if I go back to this document, what we have, a very, very important thing I would like to tell you is spread the news to your network. Because this is just a draft. I just heard it before today. Spread the news to your national network. Initiate meetings with your NCO. Why not? You have been in this meeting already. They will hear about this more, and of course they have received it already. They will hear it in June on the European Communication Group meeting. Sorry, the European ECG meeting. And you just remember that they should get your input to develop the national communication plan. But in the same time today, we say also that you should be very free to ask us about assistance. We talked already about it yesterday, that this design and the implementation of national communication plans, it's all the things we can help you with. And I think already it has been mentioned before as well, that if you want to give even more input to us about the trainings, what we just talked about before, and also what we should contain the next toolkits. Because we have the toolkits, we will update them, but we can even get more input from you. So this is actually just a little sum up about what the NCO should do, that there is an established document who said this is the role for the SPOCs, you here, and then I think I even want to encourage you to say work so much more with your national coordination officers, because you are very important for both the work being done in Brussels and the link to your network. So it is actually, and I only see opportunities, and since we all like to work with the communication, we should just continue with this adventure. Thank you very much.
Marinella, thank you very much indeed. Okay, two more things before the break. Time to look at some more of our best practice case studies. And first of all, we're going to Italy, and we're going to hear from Maria Rosa, and here she is. And we all liked your menu very much yesterday.
You want to put it on full screen?
Yeah. And today's special is communication with employers. I'd like to share our experience about communication with employers.
Hang on, we need to get the microphone on.
Oh, that one needs to be connected.
This? Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. I repeat myself. The today's special is communication with employers. I'd like to share our experience in communication with employers. Before introducing the best practices, I'd like to focus on 3 key points. Indeed, they are the starting point of the communication activity. The first step was to analyze the context in which we are operating. So defining where we are operating, the context could be indeed an obstacle or an opportunity. And after that, defining and identify the target audience, in this case the enterprises. By defining the enterprises and the scenario, the question was how? So how to communicate EURES with employers? What kind of tools could fit better, and which kind of style could be more effective, formal, informal, which kind of activity, face-to-face meeting or bigger event. And by the lesson learned, the suggestion idea to improve communication for the future. I think evaluation and monitoring is an essential step to fine-tune communication and maybe change the action, the course of action, or implement it. Just short data about labor market in Italy at the moment. I used some sources, official sources like Istat, the National Institute of Statistics in Italy, Eurostat, but in particular I'm referring to the Excelsior report. It's a very important tool, this report. It's the main source of information about recruitment and labor market forecast at national level. It is based on a survey that the Chamber of Commerce prepared for the employers with at least 1 employee. The number of the survey is 100,000, so it's a relevant survey. The unemployment rate has been increasing since 2008 with an outflows of the employers from the employees from the enterprises. And another data, important data, is the long-term unemployment, which is 7%. But Italy is facing an alarming youth unemployment rate. Currently is more than 40%. To cope with it, in last May started the Youth Guarantee Program, in which EURES plays a very important role because the program provides job search assistance and guide and financial benefit to move abroad. Has just started another important program. I imagine everyone knows, Your First EURES Job. Your First EURES Job is wider now and is dedicated to a target 18 young people, 18-35. So 35 is considered young as well. Just have a look to the characteristic of the enterprises in Italy. We have one of the highest number of enterprises per inhabitants, 64 for 1,000 inhabitants. Is one of the highest. Consider that Germany has 27 and UK 28. This characteristic must be taken into account when we set up communication. Another indicator, very important, is the highest level of self-employment, so with no employees. The 30% more than the average rate in Europe. But I think the most important indicator is the size of enterprises. The Italian system is based in the small size enterprises, on average 3.9. Just to compare the situation, UK has about 12 and Germany 10. So this data is very important. And another fact, the enterprises with less than 10 employees are 95%. So the majority of the enterprises in Italy are micro enterprises. Over the 70% are family run. Even the larger companies like Barilla, Fiat are family run. I imagine everyone knows Agnelli family, very famous. The large enterprises in Italy are only 3,000, so a very little number. And the micro enterprises are for the 70% in the service sector. Only the 25% of enterprises have a website. This is an interesting fact. This framework gives us an idea of the scenario we have to keep up with, and is an indicator, of course, of a certain dynamism in the sector, but also, analysts say, is an indicator of fragmentation of the economic system. This graph can explain graphically the situation of the enterprises in Italy. As you can see, very easy to understand the tower of the micro enterprises. All the facts I'd mentioned reflects on the channel of recruitment. Of course, we are talking about micro enterprises, not very structured. So the majority of them use informal channels, a personal or familiar network. The public employment services rate 2.2 has been increasing a lot recently indeed. Private agencies, school, university, social recruiting has been increasing as well. So far is used mostly by the large company. For example, GE, General Electric in Italy, based in Florence, recruit 90% through the website of the company and from LinkedIn. Just to sum it up and move to the next topic. The system is based on small size and family run, so that involve defensive strategies and lack of investment. Simple organization, so the company can't afford to have an HR department. And so that the consequence is that they use informal channel for recruitment. And the consequence is they have a local vision and not an international one. We have to cope with the high unemployment rate. But there is a paradox in Italy. Despite an high unemployment rate, we have every year a mismatching about, according to Union Camera, 40,000 vacancies that still remain without the suitable candidates, especially in engineering, in sales and marketing and IT sector. And all the facts I mentioned gives an idea of what kind of communication is better to use. We decided to have a turn in our communication, a switch in our communication. So using not only traditional tools, but also new channels. It's very important, the marketing service we have into the past. This is an element of strong integration. In the past, we have a marketing service for the local business. So we present in face-to-face meeting with employer, not only the services of the public employment services, but EURES as a natural choice in the wide range of services. We use newsletter, formal meetings. Some colleagues are starting to use informal meetings, so new atmosphere, new environment. For example, a colleague started with a happy hour meetings with employer, talking about EURES in front of a cup of coffees or a drink or a beer. Last year, we experimented a new kind of job fair in partnership between two regions. We organized a job day online or on site in Genoa, focused on naval and shipping sector. And in the same days, we organized the job fair in Turin, focused on tourism and catering sector. It was very successful, and we had the opportunity to share the contents online using live stream and Blackboard. About the social media, many EURES advisors in Italy have a Facebook page, but individual EURES Facebook page, not a national one. This could be the next goal for us, to set up a EURES national Facebook page. And we are trying to use the new communication tools. I experimented in the job day live stream, Blackboard, NetOp, and I think they are very, very useful. I consider it the channel of the future. And here the video brochure. This is the video brochure. It's very innovative, I think, because it combines the virtual with the face-to-face, the human touch, because EURES is a human network with technologies. And it could be used in face-to-face meeting or even in the job days abroad, because it's possible to upload the contents in different languages, in Italian, in French, English, and German. I think it's quite cutting edge and gives an immediate feedback, because you can understand immediately if the employer is interested or not. I'll show you how it works.
EURES has renewed itself with new tailor-made services for workers and companies. Now you can also benefit from incentives to support European mobility. EURES can do a lot for you, putting you in contact with a foreign company, preparing you for a new job with a vocational course if required, helping you even after you've started your new job, supporting you financially with
Of course, you can upload the content you need depending on the situation. It could be a short video or it could be a presentation. It depends on the kind of meeting you have, if you have an employers or if you have stakeholders. Let's move up to the other best practices. It's a very new and creative format. It's called Talent is Served and gives me the inspiration of the presentation of yesterday. It's a very untraditional format that uses a new way to communicate with iChair in this case. It was held last year in June in Apulia, in Bari precisely, with 26 iChair managers, and was very successful. I can say unexpectedly, I can add. The aim of these tools, like the video brochure or this new format, is to attract employers and to raise awareness about recruitment in Europe. So we think that through this new channel, EURES can be more attractive, appealing, trendy, I can say. And I think that an informal atmosphere can help to communicate EURES. We have some ideas for the future, so involve other countries in a sort of seminar, living, working and cooking in Europe. And finally, some suggestions about the future. We would like to improve a lot our communication with employers in particular, because we are not only a sending country, but I think we have a vocation to be an incoming countries as well. As I mentioned before, we have vacancies that still remain unfulfilled. And so we need to understand more about our employers. We decided we are discussing about a questionnaire we can send to the employers, like the Excelsior report, to understand more the inclination to recruit abroad and what kind of profile is more requested. We need absolutely a communication campaign at national level as well. And we have another idea for the future, to use the live stream channel for setting up a EURES channel only for employers and stakeholders. I think that live stream is a very powerful tool, not very easy to use indeed, because I tested it and I think quite challenging. But Ernst & Young provide a very interesting and useful training. I attended last March in Amsterdam and was very, very useful for me. Another thing is very important, use the video channel. According to the neurolinguistic programming, people use three communication and cognitive style: auditive, visual, and kinesthetic, which is the sum of everything. The 60% of people use visual. So this is the reason, because we think that the video could be more effective in communication. I think that's all, and thank you. Question, if you have.
During the break.
Okay.
If you have got any questions for Maria Rosa, do talk to her during the break. I'd like to crack on. Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. Learned a lot about the Italian labour market there, which was very interesting. And having you in stereo, both up there and working your way around the room as well. Really nice stuff. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, from Italy, we go to the Netherlands and Harry.
Yes, you got it. You got it. Yes. Hello. I'm Harry van den Berg. May not have told you that I was a member of this group a long time ago. I remember Anna Margarida from that time. She's still a member, and for all the others, I don't think they were in that group at that time. I make a presentation about what is it? Micro. Yeah.
Try.
Yeah. Otherwise, I use one of the floor. That might be better.
Because you're tall, you're not.
Yes. That's better. Okay. What I thought when I was asked to give this presentation was, well, how is it going into the field of communication? And I was not sure about the situation, about the things that were talked over here, and how things were well evaluated. So I made a presentation, and maybe somewhere you can notice that I wasn't really into it. What I'm going to tell you about is a system, DSSES. It is a system that we that gives a possibility to supply information on demand. This system was developed in by the during the initial training of one of our EURES advisors in cooperation with other EURES advisors. And it was made professional by a company in the Netherlands that was able to fix the idea. What I want to tell you about is about the what, the why, and the how of this system, and I want to show you some of the looks so you have an idea about the instrument. First, I wanted to start with some provocative statements. At first, we are misjudging our audience when offering hard copy information. When we are still supplying brochures, a lot of the public really are not attracted by this. They accept it, but they prefer information in another way. Another statement is supplying paper leaflets with internet links on it is no longer very useful because people have to take it home, type over the URL, and that is, well, time consuming, and they could already have been in possession of this brochure via this system. And another important thing I'd like to address is that when you're going to an event with 2,000 people, and you will be there, but what do you need on brochures? What kind of brochures? How many? Well, experienced advisors know more or less, but then you are there and things are still different than you expected. So what it means is that you are doing a lot of things while you don't have the real clue. So you have too many brochures, you have to take them back. You have too less, that's a pity. And what also is a case, that is the brochure is not very accurate, up to date anymore. That's what brings DSSES into the site. It's a tool to supply digital information on demand. It is like a web-based digital brochure rack, in fact. And with the difference that the brochure rack can be rebuilt and reformed, so you can adjust it. And it is easy to use during events where more people have a need for specific information. Why do you use this system? That is because it's very easy. We'll show you. And it is custom made. You can prepare it as you want it. It's giving information on demand when the visitor is leaving his email address. That's all he needs to do. And it is updated information. So this brochure is always up to date in any way when you have sent in the right information. And it is nowadays style, because people who leave their email address spontaneously get the brochures on their device, whatever device they use. Other elements that make it acceptable or attractable is that it is environmental, well, how do you say it, saving. And it is cost reductions, like no materials, no brochures to buy. And also in labor, you shall see that it is reduced. How to use this system as a EURES advisor when you are going to an event or you're organizing an event and you think about giving all this information that you want to supply in a digital manner, then you can send in the needed digital documents with a general description to this organization of DSSS. And that's in the Netherlands is that Pieter van der Grinten. Gewoon Peter van der Grinten noemen wij hem. We call him. And he is the one who makes sure that your request is being taken. And you will receive an offer. And the cost of this use will be between 50 and 60 euros per button. And every button, we will see later, can handle about 5 to 10 documents. You, when it is taken, you will receive a hyperlink, and this hyperlink will work during the event and 2 days after, and on any device. When the whole meeting is over, after 2 weeks, you automatically get results in a message. How many people have downloaded and what kind of information they have asked for. It is when somebody enters, a customer enters his email address, it is only in the system for the moment as long as the information is not sent. As soon as the information is sent, the email address is out of the system. So there is no possible way to find somebody back. The looks. Well, what we see, it is not very, I don't think, but I might be able to make a, no, it's not in this menu. But this is actually, how do you, an iPhone or something which shows what the client is seeing. In the first row, first place, he can leaves his, it's over here, he leaves his name. And in the second field, his address, his email address. And below, there are several possibilities to have the documents you want to supply. And he can choose whatever he needs. And then it is on the blue button, it is submit. And at that moment, spontaneous, the information goes to his mailbox. And he has already in possession. What you see furthermore is the bigger screen, the tablet, is showing the buttons of the flags of countries in Europe. This was used during the immigration fair in the Netherlands. And customers who come to the desk see this laptop, they can point out a country. And when it's then it's opened and it comes to, he will show this device, and he can enter his wishes. The advantages of the system is custom made. It is environmental friendly. No printing, no sending, no packaging. It is cost and labor saving. You don't have to take 2,000 brochures with you. It's always up to date. It's real-time online information, flexible. And, well, it's easy to use. For example, we have this setup made. I don't know if it's working, but we'll try. And we go into the system. In here it says start. Then you can enter your name, Harry. I can enter the email address. I'm not going to do that. And I can select information. I want all information about the Netherlands. I can choose for contact information of this demo. Living and working, tips for applying for a job in the Netherlands, and also vacancies. So whatever I need, I can select. I push the button submit, and it is coming in my email box. For all participants of this meeting, we have tried to do this. Meanwhile, I was presenting to send you all the information that is in this box. But we can't, because in the Netherlands we have Peter working and he's at the office, and the office won't let this system in. So what I will say instead is that we send you this information later on. You get an email in your box, and with the information, also the contact information of Peter. So when you are interested in this and you want to use it, feel free, try, and ask and see how it can help you. And Peter is always available to help you out. This was the presentation.
Thank you, Harry. It's brilliant. Thank you. Harry, thank you very much indeed. And again, if you want to know any more about that, well, you're going to get the information by email. But if you want to ask Harry any more questions, please feel free to do so in the coffee break. And the good news is the coffee break is now. You know where the coffee break is. It's next door. We're just on 11 o'clock. 15-minute break. Thank you for your attention.